Okay, come on out. Ready? Gotcha.
No, too shy.
Okay, fine. You can wear this on your head. Okay, come on out. We're gonna make you a sandwich. Oh, kind of forgot about him. Just spit up on the couch.
So funny, Levi.
I don't know if funny is the word I would use for that. Ugh, gross. Oh, gross. Better.
Yeah.
Ready?
Hey! Stop! No! Hey! No!
Welcome to a life with 2 kids.
Do you want me to show you my room? Upstairs, and I'll show you where my room is. My room's a little messy.
You gonna bring that downstairs?
Yeah. Pictures!
Alright, come on, love, let's get some.
Bring in my camera.
Yeah, today's a daycare day, which is like, honestly, the only real reason we do it is so that Emma can have at least some time where it's only 1 kid in the house. But it also means trying to get her out the door. It's not always easy. Spray and pray, huh? Burst in those photos.
I take so many pictures.
You took so many pictures, yeah. Right. We've been in Hamilton now, how long have we been here?
6.
Yeah, over 6 years. One of the things that drew me to it first was that it kind of feels like, I mean, I tell people it's the Detroit of Canada. It reminded me of a lot of my days traveling the US and like kind of these grungy, beat down American like cities. And I loved that. Because I got into video, like traveling. I made vlogs before YouTube. But they were just to send home to mom and be like, Ma, I'm alive. Look, I have 3 individual hitchhikers in the van. They don't know each other. So, yeah, Hamilton just reminded me of that. Open this up. Gotcha. I think eventually, I mean, I don't know yet, but I think probably the day is coming where I won't show my kids in the videos, at least nearly as much. Because when I started and I was including them, but there also wasn't like an audience at that point, right? It was just home videos for the sake of home videos. So I had no problem sharing it. I was posting videos and photos of my kids because it was just like my friends and family were really the only people watching. And now that there's an audience, you know, I kind of have to wonder, what is the cutoff point? And it still mostly feels okay. Like I haven't had anything creepy or whatever like that. But I also feel like there's gotta be a cutoff point where I just don't feel comfortable with it anymore. Recently I had someone on the internet, some grumpy old man, like say something about like exploitation to me. And that like really frustrated me. So I blocked him right away. Let's make a grilled cheese. Hashtag sponsored. I want to get sponsored by Natural Selections Maple Leaf.
People, I guess, think that in Jesse's videos that we make her say certain things, but like it's all her. Yeah, Dorothy likes it. She likes to be involved and stuff. And if there ever comes a point where she's like, I don't want you filming me or whatever, then we'll respect that. Then we don't.
No matter what we do, we're submitting ourselves to some amount of risk, and you just have to calculate how much of that risk you're comfortable with. Yeah. And for some people, that's, I'll never go to a park. My kid is not going to the park. My kid's not going in the sun. They're not going to drink water. No, they probably aren't those people. And for me, at this point, I'm okay with the risk. I don't like saying I'm okay with the risk. That sounds like I'm willingly submitting them to something. Yeah, I don't know.
And it's all very like calculated and edited. Like,
oh yeah, like there are things that she would do that I would just never post.
Yeah.
I'm not posting her having tantrums. Of course she has tantrums. I like to make the videos that capture how I feel about her, how I actually remember her. So the example I like to give is like when you have kids and you put them to bed, even if they were like crazy all day, once they're in bed, you're like, I miss them. I wish they would wake up, because what you remember is the good stuff. Yeah. That's what sticks to your brain. And so that's how I make videos, is I'm kind of capturing the way that I actually do perceive this life. Of course it's chaotic. Of course it's stressful. But my main takeaway at the end of the day is like, this is just the best. I don't want to forget this.
Yeah.
Comments on the absurd size of this sweater. I just don't buy clothes, and when I was at 368 last, so I was like, hey, you should have this sweater. It's the only size we have left. It's a double XL. And I was like, I love it! Welcome to Hamilton, bro. That's the most Hamilton thing I can think of. It's just like some gritty dog. And then the owner's probably like, my bad. Like super kind. Hello. Welcome to the studio. So this is the new shared studio space where I do a lot of my filming out of here and around the building. Basically everyone in the space works in some form of film and video. The studio is hard to keep clean because there's always someone either like packing up to leave or getting back and then has to run. I worked from home for years when I was doing this, and about a year before I first had kids, I got offered a free studio space. And then, once I had kids, it was like, you know what it's like. The kids are like running in, or they want to play, or they're making noise and you can't film. Or even one of the hardest things I found is like Emma and I really trying to define where the boundaries were, right? And so when I'm at home just on my computer and she needs help, when is it okay to ask for help? And when is it like, I know you're at work, so just you do you. But also it's like, maybe she really does need the help. And so do I help or do I stay in work mode? It's so hard balancing that out. So having this space, it really defines my work time versus my like home and my lifetime. That's my work-life balance, is when I'm here is work. And at home, I really don't do, I might film a little bit here and there at home, but I really don't edit at home anymore. I don't really know how to describe myself anymore or my career. Usually, I just say I make internet videos. I don't even say I'm a YouTuber. Or I don't say I'm an Instagram. I definitely don't say I'm an influencer, which is weird because it's not true. I essentially make money via my influence, but my goal is still just to have fun making videos, and I don't care if they go to YouTube or Twitter or Instagram. I made a video recently that was just for an Amazon product review that I thought was funny. So I just say I make silly internet videos. I also find when I play it down like that, I can exceed people's expectations. But when when I'm at a family gathering, they're like, oh, what are you doing these days? And I'm like, I'm a filmmaker. And then they see my Amazon review of a bidet. They're like, wait, I thought you were a filmmaker, right? So it's like I lower people's expectations so that I can exceed. The stories thing came about for me mostly because for years I was like an avid Vine viewer, and I always loved how creative people would be in that 6-second format. But I never made anything for it. And I always kicked myself that I didn't jump on that bandwagon, so to speak. So as soon as Instagram stories started, I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm not gonna let that happen again. I want to have fun with this platform. And I started, and it was just pretty simple little like stories at home or time lapses of me editing, that kind of thing. And then eventually what I found was I was having so much fun with it that I wanted to do it more often. Yeah, the temperature in the studio here is very kind of all over the place. So one of the ways that we can actually control it is with this window. And I always think it's funny that the way that I can open and close the window involves this desk and this pool cue. And I've been meaning to make a story about this just because I think the whole process is so funny. There's something relatable about the absurdity of this whole thing. On one hand, people are like, wow, Jesse's living the fancy life. Look at that expensive desk a company gave him. And then they see how I have to open my windows and they're like, oh, he's still just some guy trying his best. Peter and I, we go way back. He sold me my first camera nearly a decade ago now. So, we used to shoot together, things like that. And he had seen me posting these stories, daily or whatever on Instagram. And he kind of was just at the beginning of his YouTube career. He had just popped off a couple months earlier. And he was like, I'd love for you to make a video with me on my channel, like talking about Instagram stories, talking about making interesting content from the normal parts of your life, from the mundane kind of things. And I was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. I wasn't making any YouTube content, which was my goal, because I felt like I just didn't have anything worth sharing. I wasn't doing like exciting adventures. I wasn't teaching anything. So when I found myself like inspired to create normal videos on Instagram, I thought, I think a lot of people could really benefit from this. And that's why I wanted to share it. And, Peter is obviously Peter. Have you heard of Peter McKinnon? So that video did really well for me, and it, boosted me to like 20K on Instagram really quickly. And even that growth inspired me like, oh, you know what? There might be an avenue here to actually help myself retreat from the work I didn't want to do and pursue more work that I did want to do. So I kept going daily. I went daily for a year and a half, maybe even close to 2 years. And then I realized I wasn't sleeping. I still had my commercial work, my corporate work, my wedding work that needed to get done. I was editing these stories between like 11 p.m. when my family would go to bed and 3 a.m., 4 a.m., basically every night. And I just was not sleeping. And there'll be seasons when I have nothing I want to make, and so I don't make anything. And that fear, I think for a lot of people, is like, you start getting those messages like, where are you? Where have you been? But even that, I think realistically, it's just a vocal minority. It's just a couple of people that, for whatever reasons, have really high expectations of you. Like, you stopped posting daily, what happened? I think most people understand, like, yeah, you have a life. You don't have to post every day. Take care of yourself. I think that's what most people think. They're just not loud about it. My main goal with all of this is to just build a life that I'm proud of and that I'm happy with and that I find a lot of joy in. So if this whole Instagram story thing starts taking that from me, starts taking joy from me, starts taking my family life from me, then I'm okay to just leave it. But I have to be mindful of it all the time. I don't usually shoot my stories on the C200, but it's really fun too sometimes. It's like I have it, and interestingly enough, when you build it out, it actually works really well for this vertical setup. The monitor is like right there, you can see everything. It's kind of the best vertical filming camera. When it comes to filming yourself vertical, it's not quite as handy. I mean, you can do it, but it's a little bit ridiculous, and it's heavy and hard. I mean, here's one right here, right? This is kind of how I started with the stories, was just, it was an M5 and then an M50, but you could get most of the way there, but my personality is I always want things to be better. I want everything I do to be the best version of what I do. And now that I have a C200, I know I could get slightly better image quality. Not massively, not even enough that I don't even think the average user is gonna see exactly why it looks better between these two cameras. But there is a difference. You have this dynamic range where the sky is totally exposed and I'm exposed. It's all in the details. Because I started my filmmaking career like a decade ago, and I was 18 or 19 when I started, I had really no idea what I was getting into. And I made a lot of mistakes, financial mistakes, work mistakes, booking the wrong jobs, all that kind of thing, that in the past 2 years, kind of switching my whole business, I've been able to come at it from a totally different angle. I've been much more thoughtful about it and thinking, why am I doing this? What's my end goal? Is it fame? Is it money? Is it, all those things? And I've kind of defined for me what success is, which is, I say it's building a life that I'm proud of, but even that's a bit vague. What is a life that you're proud of? And for me, that's a life where I'm doing work that I'm passionate about and I'm forcing myself to be creative, but I'm also very focused on my family life, on my community life. I know that my goal isn't to have nice cars, to have nice clothes. It's not about luxury. My main thing is like, I'd love to not have a hole in my kitchen ceiling. I'd love to not stress about whether or not I can make my mortgage payment this month. It's to kind of just live the same life that I've always been living, minus the stress over whether or not, ends are gonna meet. My default also is I'm not terribly future focused. I really want to be in the now because I know someday I'm gonna be nostalgic for the now. I'm gonna be like, remember those days, we were barely paying rent and we had that shared studio with 5 other guys and it was just full of chaos. I know I'm gonna miss this, so I wanna be focused in the now. And then there's just times where I'm at 368 and all the founders are like, hey Jesse, how's it going? Like, what have you been up to these days? And it just reminds me like, holy cow, like I've really come a long way. I'm not just pursuing something, I am here and I don't wanna lose the here in the pursuit of the there. I'm in pursuit of what's next. Yeah, it always feels like overkill. I remember the first time I made a story that I used 2 different friction arms, like one clamped to my belt and one just grabbing the stuff of my shirt, and then the camera was rigged up in the middle to get a POV shot of me taking a drink of something. I just remember doing that. I was like, wow, I am really taking this too far. But I enjoy it, I still like the creative process of trying to figure out, there's a shot in my head, how do I get it, right? And some people are like, oh, there's things I want to shoot, but I don't have a tripod that gets me tall enough, or if only I had whatever piece of gear. And I think what really makes, especially someone in a creative field, valuable, and filmmaking so much of this, is their ability to problem solve. It's like, it's more important that you have a shot in mind that you want to get than it is having the right gear to get the shot. I don't know if everyone struggles with this, but for me, being self-employed, it's all about forcing yourself to do work. There's no one that says, Jesse, you need to be up at a certain time. There's no one saying you need to be home. I mean, my wife's saying I gotta be home at a certain time. But having to have that self-discipline to make things, even when you don't feel inspired. I think that's a myth, is that people think I'll make videos when I feel inspired or when I have something to say. But to be a professional, to be consistent in this world, sometimes you just have to grab a camera or a notebook, a computer, and start, because your career depends on it. It is fun and it is work. And work is always work. It's never gonna get to a point where you're like, work is great. What's that saying people say, like, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life? I think that's a load of crap. It's still work. You're still gonna have days you don't wanna wake up. You don't wanna drive to Hamilton at 6 a.m. or whatever. It's just, that's part of the process. That's why you get paid to do it, is because you wouldn't do it otherwise. But also what I'm finding lately is, because my career has grown so much, I'm getting a lot more opportunity to travel and to get paid to travel. But essentially what they're saying is, we're paying you to not be with your family. And so that tension between I'm doing what I love and I'm getting paid for it, but it's pulling me away from the thing that I love most, that I want to spend my most time with, is very hard. Because on one hand, it needs to be a career. It has to be financially sustainable for it to build this life at all. But where's the balance, right? When do I say no to a high-paying travel job if it means that I'm not with my family, if I'm not doing the thing that for me is the definition of success? It's even weird to say out loud, saying like, so that I'm choosing to go to Dubai or I'm choosing to go to Ireland, all these things, because if I were just a single me, that's a dream come true. I get paid to make videos around the world. That sounds amazing. But what I really want now is to just be with my family and to have a routine, but to make videos and be local and have that rhythm. So it's like, it's so weird when it's both my dream come true, and it's work that's pulling me away from what I love most. You know, how do you balance between the two? I want to travel. I want to make videos in other parts of the world, but I don't want to leave my family. I wish I had an answer for what that looked like. Good stuff, Jesse. Good stuff. Oh, you know what? I think this will be fine for the shot. I think I'll be able to fake it. It's interesting. I think what motivates me most is I want to be a better me for my family. I don't want to be at the dad who's like on his phone at the breakfast table in the way that maybe some people grew up with the dad at the newspaper, right? Over the last year, I've been like really focusing on being better to myself, like sleeping more and exercising regularly. I want to be healthy and active for my kids as they grow up. I don't want to be like, sorry, I can't run around with the park with you, I'm too tired. And that's not even just a physical. I don't want to be too tired because I'm out of shape, and I don't want to be too tired because I'm overworked. Kids are kind of great for those days when you wake up and you're not in the right space because, I mean, they just don't care. They don't care if you're tired. They're like, you have to feed me breakfast. That's your job. You're my dad, you know? And I'm like, right, true. So I've actually found having kids has been unbelievably helpful for my overall productivity and for my my rhythms and my routines, because I can't sleep till 11 a.m. I just can't. My kids will not let me. They will just lose their bananas. And then the hardest thing for me is getting out of the house to come to work and to actually shift into that mode, because at home, it's so easy to just like sit down, have breakfast, have a coffee, read, whatever, do all these things, or like just hang out with the family and not, you know, and not get myself to go to work. Luckily, I mean, my wife is amazing. She's just the best. She'll be like, hey, you gotta go. You know, I need you to work really hard today so that you can come home and be present for dinner time, for bedtime. Because she knows if I don't leave at a good time in the morning, well, I won't be home at a good time in the evening. Yeah, family has made all that stuff easier. I can't imagine where I'd be if I was just alone. No, don't use that in the video. I feel like it'd be so sad. Think like, I am alone. I think most things in life are like a pendulum between two things. I don't think it's a work-life balance. I think there's a season to work, and then there's a season where you say, I'm working too much. I need to slow down. I need to enjoy my family. I need to take care of my sleep. And just being aware of where you are on that spectrum has been very helpful for me. Where are you?
Daddy!
Hi.
Daddy!
Come here.
We were in the basement.
Hi.
We were in the basement.
Oh, nice to see you, love.
Dad, let's go to the basement to make Hilly a note in the car. Come on.
Wait, what are we making?
Come on, Dad.